Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Hey, architecture firm owners and emerging leaders. Get ready for unparalleled insight into the development of a world-class architecture firm and a worldwide organization driving the digital transformation of the design and construction industry. With Build Smart, the podcast that's changing how our profession operates. We share the incredible stories behind innovation in the building industry with my friend and co-host, Patrick McLeamy, FAIA, former CEO of the international architecture firm, HOK.
You know, Yamasaki's office or firm lasted during his lifetime. And when he passed away, I think that was the end of the Yamasaki office. Helmut did not want that. He wanted a firm that would live out and grow beyond the founders.
In Season 1, discover the untold stories behind HOK's meteoric rise, from 150 employees in St. Louis to a powerhouse with over 1,900 staff members and 27 offices worldwide.
You know, they weren't as polite as the Kojima people. That was just boom. And anytime you have a creditor, whether it's Kojima or the bank, that wants their money, unless you can raise money someplace else, you are out of business.
Bankrupt. And hold on tight for Season 2, where Patrick takes us on a new adventure as chairman of Building Smart International, shaping the future of digital transformation in the design, construction, and operation of built assets.
Ian Howell, Ken Harold, and I, Ken was my technical representative from HOK. The three of us took a tour of Europe of 5 cities in 5 days. Very busy time.
Simply follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Smart now and uncover lessons that will transform you and your architecture firm. Architects, mark your calendars for the Entre Architect Community Annual Meeting. It's the business conference for small firm architects. From October 23rd to the 25th, join us in Nashville, Tennessee, for an event dedicated to small firm entrepreneur architects like you. Experience inspiring keynotes, interactive workshops, and unparalleled networking opportunities. This is your chance to learn, share, and grow with peers who understand your journey. It's a unique conference, unlike any of the others. If you're a small firm architect business owner, this event is for you. Secure your spot today at smallfirmconference.com. Don't miss out. Join us in Nashville and prepare your firm to thrive in 2025. My name is Mark R. LePage, and you are listening to Entre Architect Podcast, where Each week, I speak with inspiring, passionate people who share their knowledge and expertise, all to help you build a better business as a small firm entrepreneur architect. Today on the podcast, we're joined by Mark Wald, a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and consulting CFO. Mark has built, invested in, and advised numerous startups. He founded several consulting practices and co-founded both a successful SaaS company and a subscription box business. Currently, Mark operates Supercharger, offering finance and accounting leadership to growing businesses and nonprofits, architecture firms like ours. His extensive experience spans diverse industries, and he has actively contributed as a startup board member, an advisor, a mentor. He's done all kinds of things. Today, we're going to talk about data, and we're going to talk about decision-making, using data, and how data can help you build a better business, live a better life. So I'm excited about this conversation. Mark Wald, welcome to Entre Architect Podcast.
Thank you, Mark. Happy to be here.
Great to have you here. Let's start with you. Before we jump into what you do today, I want to learn about you and where you started, how you got to where you are today. So when did you discover your passion for what you do, and who or what inspired you to get started?
Well, I've always been curious and a problem solver. So that started early. My father's an engineer. I grew up in Silicon Valley. My mother is a type A busybody. She never sits still for a minute. So I inherited, I think, the best and worst from both of them. But that really is who I am as a professional today, with a focus on problem solving and building a better mousetrap and getting there faster, because I don't like wasting time or resources. I just want to get it done once, get it done right, and move on. So I grew up in Silicon Valley. Tech was just a kind of a given for me. So I learned, experienced, and assumed that technology innovations can solve almost any problem that we're faced with. It's just a matter of time and money and resources to weigh whether it makes sense to do it the brute force kind of manual approach or try to bring technology into play. As a teenager, I had a problem. I was sleeping in a lot because I stayed up late with my friends and watching TV and whatnot. And I'd wake up with the alarm clock still beeping like 3 hours after I was supposed to wake up. It was on the floor or under my pillow. So after trying different sounds, I needed to solve the problem a different way. And what I did was because my dad's an engineer, I know electronics a little bit. I took the alarm clock apart. I hardwired a very large speaker to the alarm clock circuit. I put the alarm clock on my dresser all the way across the room, and I bolted like a 10-inch speaker to my nightstand facing the pillow. When that alarm clock beeped the next morning, I sure as heck was on my feet, running across the room to turn off the alarm at the dresser. And by then I was already awake.
Problem solved.
Simple solutions to simple problems in like the most efficient and direct way possible. That's kind of how I roll. So another problem was I went to school. I studied economics and business because I wanted to get into making money. And I thought maybe I'd become an architect. Maybe I'd be a mechanical engineer. I have fun. I build things with my hands. So thought I'd get into some kind of like engineering architecture trade. But I saw my father's career, and it took until the second half of his career when he moved out of engineering into like the business side of enterprise that he was making real money. So I just wanted to shortcut that process, go straight into business. So I left my dreams of being an architect on the shelf. I've done some work on a couple houses of mine in the past. I used Google SketchUp actually to design a couple room additions and a remodel of kitchen, bathroom, and some bedrooms. That was fun. But I guess going into business, coming out of undergraduate, I worked for a business bank, for some movie studios. I kind of found my calling working with data and doing analytical reporting. Really, I'm always trying to answer the question of what does this tell us? So what? And what do we do about it to create more value for the business? So then I worked in industry for about 10, 12 years. I started getting called on by my friends and contacts to be a fractional CFO for their companies and their friends' companies. And it really gave me a lot of confidence that what I'd learned in industry, those best practices could be applied to small businesses and startups to level them up to operate like an enterprise and to make good decisions with their data set. So I built a team around me. I started under one brand name for about 8 years. Then I pivoted and took the same team, same client base, we rebranded under the Supercharger brand. That's because I'm all about getting there faster. And I felt like the services, the value that we were providing to our clients was really supercharging their business. So I wanted a business with a name Supercharger in it. And I was testing out domain names that were available online. I found if I spelled the word supercharger without any vowels, .com, that was available. It kind of reads like Supercharger. So it really resonated with me. We went with that as our company name and our URL. And I thought of the tagline, cut out the vowels, get there faster, because that's what we do. That's the value we deliver to our clients.
So Silicon Valley, growing up there as a kid, I want to just go back there for a minute. What was Silicon Valley like as a kid? Do you know that you're sort of in that world of tech when you're a young kid or a teenager? Do you understand that?
I was aware, especially since my father worked for, 15, 20 different tech companies over the course of his career. Steve Jobs went to my high school growing up.
So you knew where you were pretty young.
I knew, and riding my bike and, skateboard, rollerblades all around town with my friends in middle school and high school, we spent a lot of time in the parking lots of Apple Computer business parks because there was a lot of open space. And I just thought the whole world looked like that. Actually, at the time, I wasn't aware that that was special. That was the epicenter.
So your dad, as an engineer, what type of engineer and what kind of work was he doing?
Electronic engineer. He's got a master's in engineering. He has some printed circuit board patents, designs in his name. He worked for Eastman Kodak in Rochester earlier in his career and moved the family to Silicon Valley when I was a couple months old.
Did he move to Silicon Valley to chase a dream? Did he go there for a reason?
Yeah, similar to how I described myself. I think he wanted to advance his career to provide a better life for the family. And he was reading in the papers about how Silicon Valley was the place to be for engineers. So he applied for jobs, flew out a couple of times, got one, moved the family out there. And that's where I grew up. And, he worked on the hardware side, designing printed circuit boards, and then evolved to working on software and video compression technologies. So some of the handwriting and voice recognition technologies that we use in our smartphones today, he worked on years and years ago.
Wow.
He actually had a licensing deal with Steve Jobs with one of the video compression technologies he was working with earlier in his career. When Steve left Apple, signed a deal with my dad at Next Computer, and then shortly thereafter went back to Apple.
Wow. So it's in you, right? It's in your blood, technology and entrepreneurism. It's all just part of who you are.
It is. And, growing up, my dad, every time like the vacuum cleaner would break or some other, parts or machines would fail at home, he'd harvest all the parts. And on the garage shelf were like dozens and dozens of little containers with
the graveyard,
nuts and bolts and wires and springs. And then whenever we'd have a need to fix something or build something new, he'd be like, I have exactly the right part right here, and go find it. So I have that in me too. I have a garage full of spare parts and I like building things, but also in business, I have a mental catalog of all the software tools and best practice business processes that are available and that are a good fit for the type of businesses we work with. And when we're facing a particular problem or need, I'm like, okay, if we connect this thing to that thing, we can make it work. And that's going to be better than what we're doing today for these reasons. And here's where things can go wrong. So we'll put some bumpers around it on the ends to make sure we don't fall off the rails. So my brain is wired the same way like an engineer.
So what was your first business? Did you have a business as a kid? Did you have that mindset young? Did you sell lemonade on the corner?
My first job ever, I think I was 14 years old. I was a busboy at a local restaurant. And I spent a long time in hospitality. So I understand customer service from that perspective. That was really helpful. In college, I made balloon animals. I twisted, all kinds of shapes. I started working tableside, going from table to table in different restaurants. And I made good money just working 2 or 3 days a week during college. And if I can see in my mind's eye how all the parts connect, the hip bone's connected to the thigh bone, is connected to the, knee bone, I can make it. So the same thing is true in business. And, at Supercharger, we actually build custom technology solutions for our clients as well. If there isn't an off the shelf solution that fits, we'll build a bridge to connect system A to system B, or build a brand new system C from scratch to do the thing that needs to be done better, faster, cheaper, with better accuracy and controls.
Yeah, I want to talk about Supercharger. Before we talk about exactly what you do and how you do it, I want to dive into the name a little bit. Was it just a cool name, or are you a car guy and understand Superchargers inspired the name?
No, it's not about a car guy thing. It was really just about supercharging the productivity of the people and the businesses that we work with.
Yeah, it's a cool name. Supercharger without the vowels, spelled out.com. Very cool. So, how did the Supercharger company start? What was the origin of that?
Well, I was like an architect, hanging a shingle and starting a practice. I was a fractional CFO, and I was going from one small business to the next, sometimes on short-term projects, other times on longer-term engagements. And I was working 2 or 3 all-nighters a week just to increase my billable hours and try to provide for my family. And that wasn't sustainable and it wasn't scalable. So I started looking for ways to add more staff to my team and manage a growing book. Because as a CFO, I would parachute into a business, figure out what they needed, develop tools and systems and work product to drive the business forward. And then I would look to replace myself and hire someone to sit in my chair and turn the crank and keep things moving. So I basically built a practice where I did exactly that at larger scale. Now we have about 70 staff and we work with about 300 different companies. I'm really proud of it, but we're just getting started. We have a long ways to go.
So, fractional CFO, is that a permanent position or a temporary position? How does that work when somebody hires you?
My first job was a professional services company, and they had 2 different offices on Los Angeles and New York. They had, I think, about 60 staff at the time, and they were doing good business, making, good money with prestigious clients, but they had a full-time CFO on their payroll who was asleep at the wheel. And one of the friends and advisors of the business owner was talking to them about their challenges, said, "Hey, just have a conversation with my friend Mark, see how it goes." And I talked to them, learned a little bit about what they were facing, met with their CFO for about 3 hours. And then I came back into the CEO's room and I said, "This guy's asleep at the wheel. He has no idea what's going on with the business. You need to let him go." And I came in and replaced that person. And I only spent about 10 hours a week with them instead of a full 40. It cost them less to have me on staff, but we accomplished a whole lot more together. Within a couple of weeks of coming on board, they had to reduce payroll by about 40% for a couple of months. Otherwise, they were going to become insolvent. But we turned the corner, gave everyone who stuck around big bonuses for carrying the company through that pinch point. And the company ended up being a big success. It sold to a strategic years later on the back of the work that I did, setting up their scalable processes and systems so that they had visibility to see where they were going, and they could manage cash flow and drive profitability to the bottom line.
Sounds like a very good service for architects, because architects are very focused on the work they do, right? Focusing on the designs of the projects, the people that they're serving, the people they're working with. They struggle with the business side of it. They struggle with the data side of it and how they can leverage that data, what even to collect in terms of data. So can we talk to them, talk to the small firm business owners that we're talking to? How can a CFO, a fractional CFO, come into a firm like that in terms of software they're using, in terms of systems they're using, the data they should be collecting or not collecting? Can we sort of put together a scenario on what a service like yours could help with a small firm?
Sure. So I'll go back to that first fractional CFO gig I had. This was a project-based business where some of their projects were just one and done in a month, but others took 2 to 6 months, sometimes longer. And when you're in a project-based business, it's easy for the principals to get their head down in the weeds, actually doing the billable work that they sold and forgetting about the pipeline. And if you're managing the business based off of how much cash is in the bank and what your accounts receivable balance are, and you're like, okay, I'm comfortable because I know more money is going to come in against my expenses, you're missing the forest for the trees. So if you've already billed 50% upfront to do the work and your accounts receivable is representing that, and you're in the middle of doing your final work, then once you finish all that project-based work and raise your head and think about new business development, you might have a 2 or 3 month dry spell before you have more revenue coming in the door to pay for your staff.
There's probably lots of nodding heads right now listening to us, recognizing that scenario.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So having a discipline of looking at your pipeline in terms of like opportunities that you haven't closed yet, new work that you've closed but you haven't started yet, work in process that you haven't billed for yet, or maybe you got a prepaid retainer and you basically have a liability where you have to deliver to your customer the work or a refund, but that money isn't really yours yet. You haven't earned it, and so on. If we paint that picture, you can just see how the money moves from one step to the next, all the way through the flow, and anticipate what your expenses are going to be in the future. Then you're not going to wait until you come up for air when you finish that big project to think about what's next. It's going to be part of your day-to-day focus. And that's how businesses scale. So for a small business where the principals are doing most or all of the billable work, also, you're not really thinking about the value of your time. But if you keep track of where the time is spent in a business, whether it's a principal doing the work or staff, and you're considering the cost of that time against the revenue producing activities that time is spent on, that gives you a lot more clarity about where the value comes from in the business and gives you actionable insights to make decisions about how to optimize.
And when you're talking about tracking time, that's not about an hourly fee, because a lot of architects hear tracking time, I charge hourly fee. And if I don't charge hourly fee, then I don't need to track my time. But the value of tracking time is much more important than that in terms of an overall business strategy, right?
Sure. I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day, and you got to sleep and eat and have a life outside of work. So understanding how your time is spent against the revenue allows you to get the most ROI for every hour spent, regardless of whether you're billing by the hour or you're billing for like a flat fee project with an outcome that you're on the hook to delivering. Also, you don't have to track your time by the hour. You can look at time in blocks of days or weeks or months and just kind of be able to at least estimate what percentage of your time was spent on different activities. But the key is doing the after the fact allocations, the math to say, well, if I had to hire someone else to do the work that I'm doing right now, how much would my business have to spend for their time? And think about it in those terms, you can get pretty good clarity around how much profit you're generating on every activity or how much overhead cost you're spending on every activity, and lets you be really strategic about where you're allocating your time and resources. So on a project basis, you've got labor, which is usually your biggest cost. Then there's also third-party fees. You might have fees to print blueprints, designs. You have permitting fees. You have survey fees. You have fees to get data, other subcontractors. If you're allocating those costs to the individual projects that they belong to, that gives you a lot more clarity as well. I see so many small firms, their gross profit margin is almost, or their gross profit dollars are almost the same as revenue because they're not allocating their cost of goods sold. Your cost of goods sold are your labor and all those other job related costs. And when you allocate that properly, you can really see how much gross profit is left over to cover your true operating overhead. Your overhead would be rent, administrative staff, insurance, things like that that are not job related.
Let's take a quick break to say thank you to our sponsors for their support of this episode. Architects, listen up. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world and is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. I know this community of small firm architects very well, and I see many of you struggling. That's why I reached out to this episode's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote. And by filling out just a few questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in the show notes. It's betterhelp.com/architect. Just use that link, betterhelp.com/architect. Clicking that link helps support this podcast, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp. So you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. If you need someone to talk to, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the show notes or visit betterhelp.com/architect. That's betterhelp.com/architect. Thank you to BetterHelp for supporting this podcast and for supporting our community of small firm architects. ARCAT's Spec Wizard is the tool that will help you save time writing specifications. Going through the manufacturer's specification line by line to find the right product leads to frustration and errors. And that's where Spec Wizard comes in. It's a free, patented tool that allows you to select products and options error-free and generate a 3-part specification in minutes. Go to arcat.com, that's ARCAT.com, and try Spec Wizard today. Please visit our sponsors today and thank them. Thank them for supporting you, the Entre Architect community. When you come into a firm as a new fractional CFO, what's the first thing you do? What's the process that you sort of go through in order to lay out the land?
First thing is to understand what's happening in the business. What's the order of operations from start to finish in all the business activities? Who's doing what? Where does the data live? Is there a single source of truth? Are there duplication of effort and duplication of data sets that create inefficiencies, create blind spots, create room for human error, create time delays, and look for opportunities that like kind of low-hanging fruit to tighten that up. So there's a lot of, especially in firms that have been around for a while, there's some legacy paper-based processes that are old habits that we can easily get people out of. So you and I have a friend in common that's an architect. What I saw is they were accustomed to having, it's kind of like the movie The Office. Have you seen The Office?
Sure.
With the TPS reports?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So there was one person whose job was to prepare a draft invoice based off of data that was in the accounting data set. Then they print that draft invoice out on paper, hand it to the principal. The principal would look at the invoice, mark it up with red pen, like the piece of paper, hand it back to that admin staff. The admin staff would have to interpret the chicken scratch, go and create another draft invoice, send the PDF across. The principal would print out another copy, look at it, mark it up again. That cycle happened 2 or 3 times over with every bill. That means it's going to take hours of administrative labor cost for the business to get the bill presented, days or weeks of delay before the bill gets presented to the customer. And that hurts the cash flow of the business in terms of timing of collections, but also just wasted administrative time. So using a system that enables the source of truth, like the data that goes into generating the invoice, you make a lot of those decisions up front when you sign the contract, when you prepare a project proposal, a project plan. Just have that original data set be structured in a way that it can flow directly into the billing process without a lot of subjective manual review and multiple touches in the way. Then all the expectations are managed, all the data is there, you've reduced your duplication of effort, and you increased your speed of collections.
I think many leaders who do that, where they want to review the invoicing before it goes out and have the final say before it's sent out to the client. I think they feel that they have more control over things when they do that. But in fact, the reason they're doing that is because they don't have control over their systems, right?
That's right. Measure twice, cut once is a good adage in the construction industry. It makes sense to architects. If you measure twice and prepare the plans for what the invoice should look like when you finish the work, then you don't need to be involved in the process again a second time. The invoice can be prepared based off of the plans that you designed in the first place. And you can also be thoughtful about, well, are we going to recognize all this revenue in one big mush pot? Or should we section it out across different phases or across different activities or business lines so that we have more understanding after the fact? Where is the revenue and the profit in our business really coming from? That'll show you not only on a project by project basis, which projects you were really profitable on and which ones you really underbid and lost money on or didn't hit your profit targets, but on an activity by activity basis, you could say, well, we really do well in this area. Let's try to look for opportunities that focus on that showcase our strengths there and that drive more profit to our bottom line because we get a higher ROI on our time spent when we're doing those activities versus these other ones over here.
So when you say to me, good decisions start with actionable data, that's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It's compartmentalizing your data at the right level of granularity and then being able to look at it in a way that's intuitive where you can ask the question, so what? What do we do about it? And have a playbook to extract more value, to optimize.
When you say data, what does that mean?
Well, data is, like I described, the categorization of revenue, categorization of expenses, the quality of that information as well, how your resources are being utilized. You may have a couple different vendors that provide similar services that you use on different jobs based off of availability, but there may be some hidden costs in there because maybe one vendor is less expensive in terms of what they invoice the firm, but that vendor requires twice as much handholding and micromanagement from your staff. So if you're allocating the labor by time, by hours on what your staff are doing, you'll get to see, gosh, this person spent twice as long as I thought they would supervising that phase of the project. Why was that? Well, it's because we used this vendor. And you might recognize a pattern that happened on 3 or 5 or 10 other jobs in the last however many months or years. And then you learn from that and you say, gosh, just because that vendor has a lower sticker price doesn't mean it's a lower cost to me at the end. And I need to work with a higher quality vendor that even though I'm paying the vendor a little bit more on the front end, I'm able to operate more efficiently on the back end and we win together.
When an architect does a design, right, has a client and the client tells them what they would like the problem to be solved, and the architect goes back to the studio and designs a solution, and then it gets built, and they look back and they see this amazing project that they've designed and built, and the problems were solved. Architects get this feeling, right? It's a very emotional feeling for many architects. Earlier in our conversation, you mentioned that you discovered that data was your calling. And I think that's similar, probably a similar feeling that when you design the systems that you design and get all the businesses working in the way they should be working and all the people doing what they're supposed to be doing, I can imagine that you have a similar feeling when the business is running smoothly.
Sure. Yeah, I get big dopamine hits and I'm very proud of those outcomes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I like celebrating those wins with my team and also with the clients that we're interacting with. So sure, it's a big rush to have those successes.
What's the future of Supercharger look like? You had mentioned that you have hundreds of clients now, 300 or so clients right now.
Mm-hmm.
What's your future plans? What is the vision of Supercharger?
Well, I feel like we're improving the lives of our staff by allowing them to work remotely and to collaborate with other 8 players on our team that really carry the weight together as a team where we're all for one one for all, and we win together. And we're improving the lives of the clients that we work with as well by providing them good services, good insights to help them get the most out of their businesses. So I want to do more of that. I'll say fast forward to when I'm able to hang up my spurs and retire. One of my dreams is to have a mobile wood shop where I take like an 18-wheeler with a big container on the back, set up a woodworking studio, and get some volunteers to come with me. We'll go from high school to high school and teach woodshop to kids that don't have the shop program in school anymore because the school doesn't have a budget for it. So I'd like to do that. I really like helping people. That's just in my nature. I like to be of service. But for the business to enable me to have that kind of a retirement, I need to grow the business more. So we're looking to work with firms that are growing and see the value in business process, refinement, automation, and really smart thinking about their numbers so that we can make good decisions about the data that helps them grow their own business.
We're talking to thousands of architects right now. Who of those thousands of architects are your ideal client? Who are the people that you really should be calling you?
The single shingles or, a partnership between 2 or 3 principals where it's kind of a lifestyle business, they don't really need or want the sophistication that I'm offering. We're not a good match. It's really the firms that have staff on payroll and are trying to grow their top line, and either they already know what they're doing and they know what they want and we can just fit in and speak the same language right away, or they have a lot more questions than answers and they need a partner that can help them discover the answers and also maybe open their eyes to new questions they hadn't even thought of asking that's going to improve their business.
As we wrap up here, the final question, what's one thing that a small firm architect can do today to build a better business for tomorrow? What's the one thing that we should leave them with?
Expectation setting, right? Set the right expectations with your clients about what's included in your flat fee proposals, what's not included, so that you don't end up having to give away extra work and extra value for free later, and be proud of your work and your value and stand tall on that.
Love it. His name is Mark Wald. The company is Supercharger. Supercharger is spelled with no vowels. So just spell it out, supercharger.com with no vowels. Well, com has a vowel, com has an O. Supercharger, no vowels.com. You'll see all the work that Mark and his team are doing over there. Reach out to him, say hello. Mark, I appreciate you for coming by here, sharing your story, sharing your knowledge with the listeners of Entre Architect Podcast.
Thank you, Mark. It's been fun.
If you liked this episode of Entre Architect Podcast, please share a link to this episode with a friend. Either just click the share button or highlight the URL and send the link to this episode with a friend, because that's how Entre Architect has grown to serve thousands more architects just like you throughout the 10 plus years of Entre Architect. That's how we've grown, architect to architect. So I would love for you to share this episode and all the episodes with one friend every week. Would love that. And thank you to our sponsors for this episode. We don't have an episode if there's no sponsors. So thank you to our sponsors. Links to those sponsors, which you should go visit and click, and all the resources that we discussed today for this specific episode, they are all available at entrearchitect.com/podcast. Every episode that we've recorded is there, entrearchitect.com/podcast. Go click the links to the sponsors and say hello. Entre Architect is a member of the Gable Media Podcast Network. You should go visit that at gablemedia.com. That is the next evolution of interactive media and resources for the AEC community. You can now earn continuing education credits for listening to select episodes of this podcast, Entre Architect Podcast. Yes, AIA CEUs for listening to a podcast. It's there, and many other podcasts are there as well, and you can listen to all of them and get credit. Learn more about our program, Gable Members Program, at the gablemedia.com/members website. That's GABL media.com/members. And if you are a small firm architect, join us today at Entre Architect Network. That is the worldwide organization for small firm entrepreneur architects. If you own your own architecture firm, you are an entrepreneur architect. You are an Entre Architect. with weekly live group business coaching. Yep, we have business coaching there. Monthly live business training with AIA CEUs, 2 a month. So 24 AIA credits per year, including 12 of those are HSWs. We have them in the membership. Business resources, all the resources you need to run your business, special session webinars, mastermind groups, and a thriving community of small firm architects just like you. Hundreds of architects are there waiting for you to join. So we provide the support and encouragement you need to succeed as a small firm architect. I know that you haven't been trained as a business person when you launched your firm. That's what we do. Come learn how to run a business at Entre Architect Network. And today you can go join right now for free for 30 days at this link, entrearchitect.com/30 days will give you free 30 days for membership. Go check it out at entrearchitect.com/30 days, and I will see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of Entre Architect Podcast. My name is Mark R. LePage, and I want you to remember 3 words: love, learn, share. Have a great day.
Imagine earning continuing education credits while doing exactly what you're doing right now. Well, you can. Gable Media has revolutionized the way you earn your continuing education credits with a groundbreaking approach. Forget running around town and scouring the internet for credit-worthy courses. Fulfill your CE requirements effortlessly by listening to engaging podcasts just like the one you're listening to now. Our podcasts are designed to educate, entertain, and inspire, all in a user-friendly environment. But wait, there's more. Architects, Gable Media is also approved as an AIA continuing education services provider. Upon completion, we handle everything, from reporting your hours directly to the AIA to storing your certificates in your personal Gable Media profile for your self-reporting needs. So follow the link in the show notes and start earning your credits in the most innovative and entertaining way possible with Gable Media.
Attention architects and creative minds, get ready to supercharge your brand with Build Your Brand, the podcast that's unlocking the secrets of branding success for creatives. Hey there, it's Mark R. LePage, founder of Entre Architect, and I'm inviting you to join my friend, architect marketing expert Jeff Eccles at Build Your Brand podcast, where he explores the captivating stories of the world's top brands and transforms their lessons into powerful moves for small firm architects and creatives like you. In Season 1, Jeff shares the thrilling tale of Southwest Airlines, where he dissects their journey to the summit and distills it into strategies tailor-made for you.
It's important to keep in mind that companies like Southwest compete in the real world, just like you, and face real-world challenges, just like you. You might be surprised at how similar those challenges are to the struggles that you grapple with on a day-to-day basis.
Don't miss out on your blueprint for success. Subscribe, tune in, and let's build your brand together.
You may have noticed that the very best brands in the world are also known for having somewhat unique corporate cultures. That's often the glue that holds everything together when they encounter those rough spots.
We don't do it because it inconveniences the passengers to whom we are primarily dedicated, the short haul, frequent flyer.
Follow the link in the show notes to subscribe to Build Your Brand today. Remember, no matter the size, the journey's the same. Your brand's journey to the top starts here.